Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on April Fool's Day night. What is that? I mean, what's going on with April Fool's Day? People get too lost in the sauce when it comes to April Fool's Day. We don't participate in those theatrics over here at Gin Pros. It's just not something that we do. But if you celebrate, please celebrate in private. We don't want to know about it. Got a great show in store for you guys tonight, and I'm excited to bring you everything that's going on in the sports world right here, right now. Obviously, this should be, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this should be one of the most anticipated, most exciting parts of the season. We've called it the Christmas season of sports. It's been said, exclaimed by many people, many of which have been guests on this show. And, I guess I'm not really feeling the excitement as much, but I'm getting a little bit sour about some things that have happened in the sports world in the last couple weeks. And it is what it is. I got to roll with the punches. I got to be better at dealing with what the reality is. And that is that the teams that I love, that I know, just aren't performing at the highest caliber or at the caliber that they should be. So first off, and we'll circle back to this, but I want to talk about Michigan State basketball. Okay, the Michigan State Spartans, they fall on their nose after basically being down 20 in the first half to a UConn team, which is exemplary. They're really coming into their own, this UConn team, and they're doing what they have to do to win games, to survive, to advance. And they did the same thing against the Michigan State Spartans. Dan Hurley said it himself, that he models his coaching career after Tom Izzo. He went to one of his seminars where basically he went over rebounding. And that was the central topic of this seminar. And he said he took that to heart and he modeled his entire coaching career after that seminar. And after Tom Izzo, he has nothing but great things to say about Tom Izzo. But we've said this before. Okay, they call madness. But the reality of the matter is, I don't care how many Big Ten championships you got. I don't care how many appearances you have. Yes, those things matter. Sports enthusiasts, the general fair weather sports or men's basketball, college basketball enthusiasts, those things are noteworthy, are worthy of headlines. But for the seasoned vet, when it comes to Michigan State basketball, the Michigan State basketball fan base, the ones that are truly fans, we want more than that. We want more than that. And we appreciate the accolades. We appreciate all the kind words that are put in Izzo's direction. Those things are all fine and dandy, and they're very much deserving. But at the same time, we expect more than just one championship. After all these accolades, after being a coach for this many years, after this many appearances, after this many wins as a men's college basketball coach in the Division I, we expect more. We deserve more. Okay, and really in Michigan State, as of late, basketball is all we have. It's all we got. Okay, and I went back and forth with several Walmart Wolverines over the weekend, and they made it to the Final Four. I tipped my cap to them. They got a tall task ahead of them in Arizona and the Wildcats, but that's neither here nor there. They made it there with a major group of guys that have been majorly recruited from elsewhere. Okay, they're not from within Michigan, and I give Dusty May and the recruiting staff credit for that. Okay, because you take players from locations and schools where maybe they're not blossoming into the athletes that they should be blossoming into, or they can't play to their highest level because of who they're surrounded around and who they're playing for and the location they're playing at, whatever it is. There's a formula where every player, I believe, in any sport, they belong in a certain location to flourish the most. You can see that. You can go across and diagonal across the sports and league world and talk about Matt Stafford leaving Detroit and going to the Rams and essentially blossoming into an MVP quarterback. Not to say he wasn't that already, but he blossomed into something that nobody could have imagined he was able to do. And you've seen him blossom into his own because of where he was at, because of the coaches he was playing for, because of the players he surrounded himself with, because of the schemes, because of change of pace. Listen, you can put a pencil to it and add any number of variables to why he became that player, and probably could never become that player in Detroit. Okay, that's just how it is. And you've seen the inverse with Jared Goff leaving the Rams and going to Detroit. Not the complete inverse, and we can have, and I'm lucky there's no one else on here, especially Robert or Tony or anybody else, to combat me and have a rebuttal for that, because they'd probably tear it into me if they heard me say that. Because Jared Goff hasn't really made a complete mess out of his tenure at the Detroit Lions. But we're getting off track here. Okay, we're talking about the Michigan State Spartans. Nothing to show for us since the year of our Lord 2000. And that's just a reality of the matter. And back to UConn. Okay, back to UConn and Dan Hurley. He's been able to essentially hack into scheme, their way of playing, their way of conducting themselves. He's been able to hack it and turn it and flip it on its head. And that's why they won. It wasn't because they were up 20. That sure as shit didn't help. But that wasn't the only reason. State actually make this a game, and they delivered, and our prayers were answered to get back in the game. But the thing is, even if you come back from a 20-point deficit, you come back from down 8 at halftime, you still have so much more to overcome, because it took everything inside you as a team and some to get back into that game. All right, even if you get up 1 or 2 points, you still have so much more to play just to get back to level playing field status. So UConn always maintained control of that game. Terrace Reed Jr. dominated the paint. Okay, I got to give credit to Carson Cooper. I got to give credit to Cohen Carr in some instances. Trey Fort coming off the bench. Jordan Scott played out of his mind. I expected more out of Fears, even though he didn't play too bad. Kohler played terrible, in my opinion. And really from 3, it was abysmal. Abysmal. It was sad to see State lose in that fashion. You would have been fine if they made it to Duke and lost to Duke. That's something that you could live with, that you can stomach. But when you lose in the Sweet 16 to a UConn team that could be beat, that's essentially hacking your team. If you're Michigan State, you're being hacked. You're being hacked by Dan Hurley in a way, and you're being sliced up and chopped up from a fundamental level, and you know you are. And maybe he played into this, and I heard this from some people. Maybe he was buttering the buns of Tom Izzo. And I don't believe this. I've heard people say this, but maybe he buttered his buns and maybe Izzo got soft in the game. I don't think that's the case. Okay, I don't think that's the case. I refuse to believe that. Even if that is true, I refuse to believe that. Even if it comes from a credible source, I refuse to believe that, because I believe nothing more or nothing less than the fact that Izzo is going for another championship, and he will not rest. He will not sleep. He will not retire. He will not waver until he accomplishes that goal, or at least has a hell of a chance at it. He said himself he's not going anywhere. In an interesting development, though, not to get off topic, I want to keep this going with Dan Hurley, but to talk about Tom Izzo, supposedly he had text correspondence with a previous player that had left, and I believe everyone's alleging that it is Trey Holloman, that he regrets leaving, regrets transferring, because he's seen what they've continued to build and built essentially without him at Michigan State and what they continue to do. But the thing is, and I don't know what was said back and forth between Izzo and Trey, if that's who he was talking to. At my university, I hold loyalty to the highest degree. And you failed me. You left. You entered the portal and you jumped. I really don't. That's one of the most baffling transfer portal moves that I've seen, actually. Okay, now you look at a move like Xavier Booker. Sense, and he will forever have to put his head on his pillow at night knowing that he left upon his own will. And if he has second thoughts now, it might be too late for second chances. That's all I'm going to say about it. Okay, but just to circle back to Dan Hurley, because we're going to put some time into this. And yes, they're in the Final Four, and they got a game against Illinois, a solid Illinois team that's looking really good right now. Dan Hurley is a psychopath. Dan Hurley is a nut job, whatever you want to call him, whatever name you want to call him. He's basically, he's insane. Okay, he's insane in the membrane. But that's what these players need to succeed. Okay, and that's what Izzo does to a certain level, and has done for a certain aspect, and for a certain amount of time throughout his entire tenure as coach. And we expect nothing less of that. We don't want to see him slow down from that. But Izzo keeps the intensity as much as possible. But Dan Hurley, it goes back to hacking the Izzo mantra. Dan Hurley's been able to do that successfully, and they've had snippets of him in practices where he is just berating and cussing and swearing and punting basketballs into the stands and screaming, yelling, and that is his method. And it's all by design for him to keep these players engaged and keep them focused on the highest goal, which is winning a natty. They've done it. They've done it successfully, even with a less than probable team to win it in this team that they have. And they're still a 2C. They're still a solid team. But you would assume that this team had the least amount of chances to make it to a Final Four or make it to a natty, much less than any of the other teams that they've had in years past. But it seems like they're looking to do that, especially after a crazy buzzer beater from Mullins against Duke. And wow, that was a great finish. That embodied March Madness right there, if nothing more. So now we got the Final Four, and I just want to do a quick share of my bracket because I think it's worthy of doing. And if you can see that screen, I hope you can. We actually have UConn winning. This is the John Jay the second picks, number 1. Okay, now look at all those green squares. All those green squares are correct picks. Now we had Michigan going fourth all the way up until, I believe, the Sweet 16. We had them losing to the Alabama Crimson Tide. That wasn't to pan out. Somehow we had Tennessee winning, but we had Kentucky going a little further than anybody would have picked that they would have. But we have the Final Four almost completely correct. We got UConn, we got Illinois, we got Arizona, and we had Alabama, which obviously is Michigan. But you break it down to the number of picks that are correct and that are wrong, it's really insurmountable, the odds. And we're right around, I think we're around the million mark in the 99th percentile of correctly picked brackets. So I foolishly had a different bracket that was used in other bracket pools that I'm kind of kicking myself for now. It goes back to always trust your first instinct. and I failed to do that in a few cases, we'd be obviously really close to the cream of the crop, to the top of the leaderboard in any bracket pool that we participate in with this bracket right here. So will it pan out? Will we get the final matchup between UConn and Arizona? That's what we're anticipating. And if we do, we're looking at some serious points. And especially if UConn wins it all against Arizona, which you want to talk about insurmountable odds. I just believe Arizona and the Wildcats are such a well-polished, well-oiled machine as a whole that they're going to be so difficult to beat no matter who comes across their path. And that's just the reality of the situation. That's not talking from partiality. It's not talking about who deserves to be there or who earned it the most. They have a squad that is very well put together. And we'll have to see how they perform. Okay, it's going to be built upon Braden Burries and Koa Pete. They're basically the leaders of that team. But UConn is a force to be reckoned with as well. Just like Illinois with all the players from Eastern Europe, Michigan and the Wolverines, that speaks for themselves. I'm a firm believer, I really do believe this. If Michigan can beat Arizona, they might win the Natty. They just might win the Natty. I think they're going to have a hell of a time beating Arizona. But that's going to be a damn good game. Okay, bullshit aside, fandom, Walmart Wolverines shit talk aside, that's going to be a game to watch. So dial in for that game. Take a screenshot of this bracket, though, and this is something to take notes upon. Something to take notes upon. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, we're at the Final Four. It's exciting stuff, exciting times. We wish Michigan State was there, but they're not. So we have to keep our heads up. But we can keep our heads up only for so long because, as you guys know, I am a major fan of the Azzurri, which translate to the Blues, which is the Italy national men's team in soccer. And broke my heart. This broke my heart yesterday. I'm still having a tough time with it. Okay, good thing I found some good, solid, true Italian fans. The Derby Boys podcast. We're going to be having them on this show very soon. I can foresee it. And the reason is you got to have some people to share the feelings of disgust with. Okay, this is the third consecutive missed World Cup for the Azzurri. This is terrible. This is devastating. This is bedlam. Every bad adjective you can attach to this situation, throw it at the wall because this is tough sledding. This is tough sledding. Even people that aren't soccer fans, that aren't maybe fans of the Azzurri or anything like that, maybe they're just World Cup fans. They're anticipating the World Cup. Obviously, it's a major world event. It's the largest soccer event in the world. It happens every 4 years, just like the Olympics. And you want to see the Azzurri because they haven't won since 2006. Now, we have World Cups under our belt. It's not like we've never won before. We won the 2020 Euros against England in penalties. Now, went to penalties last night against Bosnia. And Edin Dzeko could not participate in penalties because he suffered a last-second injury due to a challenge from Fratesi, and it wasn't to be done. But they didn't need Edin Dzeko. He has a long time before June to heal up and play in the World Cup because Bosnia, they deserved to win. They beat Wales in penalties. Italy was up on their high horse because they beat Northern Ireland by 2. Now, there's players that I feel for. It's Moise Ken. It's Donnarumma. Maybe you could throw Retegui in there. But there's a lot of players. And the Derby Boys said it perfect. Entitled young players, inexperienced players, players that might not fully embody what it means to play for the Azzurri. They don't know what it means to play for the Azzurri. They don't feel it enough. It doesn't burn enough. Now you know that even these players that I'm alluding to, that I'm not going to say their names because they're still players for the national team, for the Blues. But this loss right here, a lot of these guys didn't participate. They didn't know what it felt like to not make it to a World Cup. A lot of these players are new. A lot of these players are young. Now, Donnarumma knows what it feels like. He knows what it feels like. This is his third consecutive Miss World Cup. He knows what it feels like. He played out of his mind last night. If they didn't have Donnarumma, if they had anybody else in goal, they would have lost 15-1. Okay? Now you can go back and chop it up and say, oh, Moise Kean should have got that other goal or that breakaway goal, or you had some other opportunities there. But the reality of the matter is you really didn't have many opportunities last night. Didn't have many opportunities last night. It was few and far between. You were far outshot. Okay, 18-8. Now, the shots on target, 5-3. Possession, 59 to Bosnia, 41 to the Azzurri. Okay, now these, they're being a little bit facetious. Because for my calculations, they had almost, if not, and that's unacceptable. You get a bullshit goal in the 79th minute from Tabakovic. You can look back at the red card by Alessandro Bastoni, but here's the reality of the matter. And Alexi Lalas said it perfect. Italy, other than Donnarumma, they don't have a star-studded player, a standout player that is going to take control of the game. Now, you had that with Chiesa in the 2020 Euros, and that's, I think, a big reason why they won the Euros is because they had Chiesa. Now, he's saying he's injured, and they were talking about, Gattuso was talking about calling him up, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. Now, the diehards, the blue bloods of Italian soccer are really hurting right now. I think about it like I'm a fan. Obviously, I'm half Italian. My blood is Italian. I'm hurting big time, all right? But I got to think about the players. I got to think about the Azzurri royalty. Okay, I'm talking about Bonucci. I'm talking about Buffon. I'm talking about Chiellini. I'm talking about Pirlo. I'm talking about these guys that know what it feels like to be surrounded by and grow up around a World Cup champion Italian team. These guys are hurting big time. And I hope the young players can share in that hurt a little bit, because this one has to burn. We're talking 16 years before you even have an opportunity. The next one's not guaranteed. So this hurts. This hurts the pool. This hurts the squad. It hurts the dynamic of the World Cup entirely. And it's just terrible scenes all around. And I'm gonna have a tough time dealing with this. It's gonna be a difficult stretch, and that's kind of what I alluded to at the beginning of the show. It's been a tough week. It's been a tough couple weeks, but we will prevail. We will move on. We're gonna look back at this here in a couple weeks, maybe a month, and be like, you know what? Things aren't too bad, because a wise woman said, my mom said this, I shared with her that I was very distraught about the loss for the Blues. And she said, there's much worse things to happen, that could happen, that are happening, the state of affairs for others, etc., than the Azzurri not making it to the World Cup. And that's the truth. I responded to that, no doubt, which absolutely she's right. And that is the professional way to look at it. And that's what we will. That's what we're going to do. But it's going to take us some time to get there. That's all. That's all. So I can go on and on and on and on and on about the Azzurri. I can talk about them all day till I'm blue in the face. The bottom line is the young players, they might be well coached. They might be surrounded by Italian royalty. They didn't get it done. And I don't really know if they know what it feels like to embody what it means to play for the Azzurri. I don't know if they can share the mentality with the Italian royalty in men's soccer. I hope they do. I think if they didn't feel it before, they do now. And damn, I wish things were different, but it is what it is. We will circle back to the Azzurri here in coming episodes. So don't think we forgot about them. We're focused on the Nations League coming up in September. So it is what it is. You deal with things. You move on. You grow. You elevate. That's what you have to do as a man. Moving on to the PGA Tour. Obviously, we have the Valero Texas Open coming up this weekend. Tomorrow, actually. It's exciting stuff. We're focused on the PGA Tour now more than ever with our first major coming up ahead of us here in less than 2 weeks, which is the granddaddy of them all, the Masters. Okay, we're looking at some odds. We're looking at some possible picks. Right now, Scotty Scheffler is the head of the pack at plus 405, tailed by Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele at plus 1,800. Then you got Ludwig Oberg, Cameron Young, Tommy Fleetwood, Matt Fitzpatrick. Who is going to don the green jacket once everything's said and done? Now I got to wait and watch and see how players perform this coming week. But we know that, especially for those that haven't claimed the jacket, they want it more than anybody else. So what are they going to do to make sure that they don the green jacket? We'll have to wait and see. I got to wait a week before I can do my calculations correctly and more accurately. See how players carry themselves. See how they react. See how they act at the par 3 contest. See how they're walking the ground. See their stoicism. I'm looking for stoicism this year. Now, obviously, if you're playing and participating in the par 3 contest, you got your family out there. It's exciting stuff. It's exciting stuff. But I still want to see a certain level of stoicism. Take a page out of Marcus Aurelius's great book, Meditations. Just a page. That's all I ask. We'll have to wait and see. The granddaddy of them all coming up in less than 2 weeks. We're excited. We're very excited over here. Hopefully we can drag Sobo into the podcast booth for the Masters, the pre-Masters podcast. I'm hoping. My hopes are high. In other news regarding and surrounding the PGA Tour, Tiger Woods, unfortunately, after only weeks, less than weeks, I'd say a week after, okay, maybe it wasn't a week, they lost the TGL to Justin Rose, Fleetwood, Theegala. It is what it is. He missed a couple short putts. Okay. They lost in the second game. We wish it would have been forced to a third. I think the other guys deserved that on Jupiter. It wasn't to be. Tiger played. Maybe Kiz should have played. Hindsight's 2020, right? And obviously TGL is Tiger's thing. And we can sit here and speculate all day long and all night. Take up hard drive space. And we can do that. We're not going to do that. They lose the TGL championship after really improbable odds even to make it there. Before that, Tiger announced that he is not counting himself out to play in the Masters. Then only days after they lose the TGL championship, Tiger is in a rollover crash. And we knew that this was the case. It got brushed under the rug really good when it happened last time. Let's just be honest. He's addicted to pills. That's the reality of the matter. Now, we wish it wasn't so. He came out and made a statement that he is going to take time away from golf for recovery. I think he needs the Lord, really, now more than ever. Because, come on, Tiger. He apologized. He endangered people. Just think if something would have happened. How do you come back from that? I'm not worried about himself. I'm not worried about the driver. I'm worried about innocent bystanders, pedestrians, innocent drivers. kids riding their bike. You're putting those people in danger when you do shit like this. You gotta be better. That's all I can say. Now, I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of days just because I'm so fired up for the Masters. I'm watching previous years' final rounds, and I'm looking at Tiger, seeing how he carries himself. And it seems like he carries himself in such a way where he has the Marcus Aurelius page notched, and he knows how to carry himself. He knows how to be stoic. He knows how to handle certain situations. He knows how to compose himself in post-match interviews, even if he loses strokes. He knows how to do it. Now, when I see behavior like this, when he's really been out of the limelight for a lot of time, is this how you handle the pressure? Did you forget how to handle the pressure? Now, we've seen falters in the past. Some similar, some different. But the thing is, we've been here before. If you're Tiger Woods, you've been here before. Now, if nothing else, stay clean and stay sober for Charlie. Because Charlie needs that right now. He needs his father right now. And he's just not setting a great example for Charlie. And I think that's the biggest downfall of all this. So I feel for Tiger. I'm feeling for his family. And I'm hoping he can recover and find peace. That's what he needs. Be on the lookout for Golf Johnny content coming this spring. Very excited to get back out on the links. Got a lot of great things to try and to experience. And the Gin Golf Tour is hitting the road. We're hitting Black Bear again this year. It's going to be exciting stuff. I'm excited. Got a lot of great guys going. It's going to be a fun time. The Gin Sports Network Challenge 7 is taking place on June 6, 2026. Find the registration form on both ginsportsnetwork.com in the top left of your screen and at ginpros.org. The same form can be accessed from both websites. And if you have any, feel free to reach out. We will get you the assistance you need to get registered ASAP. It's only a couple months away. Get your teams and get signed up and battle for the jackets. Good deal, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that brings us to the end of the podcast. I want to thank everybody for supporting the show. Everybody for doing what you got to do. Just best. So keep it up. And we'll see you guys here next time. Make sure to check us out on our social media. Check us out on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com. Find us on IG at Gin Sports Network and find me on Instagram and X. I called it X. At Gin Commish. And we'll see you guys here next time for the Gin Sports Network podcast. For now, I'm John J. II, your host. We'll see you here next time. Have a great night.